My name's Elisa, and when I first stepped into the office of Horizon Tech, I wasn't thinking about revenge, power, or even career growth. I just wanted stability. A paycheck I could count on. Maybe something to finally help me move out of my roommate's apartment and stop pretending instant noodles were an intentional dietary choice. I was 25. Hungry. Eager. Not special, not yet. At first, I kept my head down. I worked hard. Harder than most. I didn't complain when someone else took credit in meetings. I didn't push back when late nights turned into overnights. I thought, if I just keep proving myself, someone will notice. For a while, that was enough. And then came him. Jason was a project manager, not my boss, not even in my department. But his desk was close enough, and his coffee breaks were frequent enough, that we started talking. At first, it was casual. Jokes about the terrible office printer. Mutual eye rolls when the execs made another out-of-touch decision. But then it shifted. One day, he brought me coffee without asking. Another day, I caught him defending one of my reports in a meeting I wasn't even in. And maybe I imagined it, but his eyes stayed on me just a second longer than they needed to. I didn't expect a love story in a place like that. Horizon Tech wasn't exactly romantic. Fluorescent lighting. Bland cubicles. A vending machine that ate your dollars and spit out judgment. But Jason made it feel warmer. Lighter. Like maybe I wasn't completely invisible. And just when things felt like they were finally moving in the right direction, the Vexter opportunity landed in my lap. Vexter Medical was a dream client. The kind that could make or break a quarter. My manager, Helen, had offloaded their initial inquiry to me with a dismissive shrug. "They're small time," she said. "Just send them the template and move on." But something told me not to. Maybe it was the way the client, Elliot Chambers, their head of procurement, spoke during that first call. Direct, but thoughtful. Curious. Sharp. He wasn't just browsing, he was building something. And he needed a partner who would pay attention. So I did. I rewrote the proposal. I dug into their product line. I asked questions most sales reps didn't bother with. Elliot noticed. Within a week, we were having daily calls. Within 2, I was advising on logistics, software compatibility, even packaging options. It was the most stimulating project I'd touched in years, and no one else seemed to care. Well, almost no one. Jason noticed. He started bringing dinner to my desk when I worked late. Asked how things were going. And every time I talked about the progress I was making, I saw something flicker in his eyes. Pride. Admiration. Maybe something more. One night, we stayed late, both of us, by coincidence. The office was quiet. Everyone else had gone home. He walked over, leaned against my desk, and said, "You know, I've never seen someone fight so hard for a client no one else believed in." I laughed, brushing hair from my face. "They're good people. And honestly, I think this deal could change everything." Jason nodded, then looked at me, really looked at me. "You're not like the rest of them," he said. "You don't wait for permission to be brilliant." I didn't know what to say to that. So I just smiled. And for the first time in a long time, I felt seen. Not just as a worker. But as me. But of course, reality doesn't stay sweet for long. Especially not in places like Horizon Tech. 3 weeks into the Vexter process, everything was nearly finalized. Elliot was happy. I was happy. The numbers looked perfect. And then Helen, my manager, suddenly wanted a full update. "I'll take over from here," she said casually, as if she'd been involved all along. My stomach dropped. "Excuse me." She didn't even look at me. Just clicked through my presentation like she owned it. Jason caught my eye from across the room. His jaw tightened. And just like that, I felt it. The shift. The stealing. That's where things started to crack. And part of me already knew, this wasn't just about a deal. It was about how much they thought they could take from me before I broke. I wanted to believe it was a mistake. When Helen said she'd take over, I thought maybe it was protocol. Maybe she was required to finalize deals of that size. Maybe all those months of late nights and strategy sessions were still going to be credited to me, just behind the scenes. I told myself that for exactly 2 days. Then came Monday morning. The company newsletter went out at 8:02 a.m. sharp. There it was, right at the top, bold text. Big win, Horizon Tech secures Vexter Medical Partnership. And below that, a photo of Helen shaking hands with Elliot. No mention of me. No footnote. No byline. I stared at the screen. My name wasn't just missing, it had been erased. Scrubbed clean, like I was never part of it. Worse. Helen didn't even look smug. She looked indifferent. Like it was nothing. Like taking credit for someone else's work was just part of her morning routine, coffee, email, theft. Jason found me in the break room, staring blankly at the microwave while my tea steeped too long. You saw it, he said quietly. I didn't answer. She didn't even bother to make it subtle, he muttered, shaking his head. I turned to him. What do I do, Jason? If I confront her, I'm insubordinate. If I stay quiet, I disappear. He leaned against the counter, folded his arms. You don't disappear. You take notes. You pay attention. And when the time comes, you remind them exactly who they underestimated. There was something in his tone, anger, yes, but also, belief. In me. Over the next few weeks, I tried to carry on. I smiled in meetings. I answered emails. I played the part. But inside, I was unraveling. Every time someone congratulated Helen in the hallway, it cut a little deeper. Every time I saw Mark, yes, Mark, the golden boy from marketing, circling my desk with fake questions and too loud compliments, I knew. He was being groomed. Fed my client list. Prepped to take over the next win. I started watching. Listening. Connecting dots. Helen's sudden interest in my spreadsheets. Mark asking for templates I'd created from scratch. The pattern was obvious, build them up, then hand them off. One afternoon, I caught Jason waiting by my desk. You've been quiet, he said. I nodded. I'm just tired. Liar, he said with a soft smile. You're planning something. I didn't deny it. Let me ask you something. If someone took everything you built, your ideas, your relationships, your reputation, what would you do? Jason didn't answer right away. Then he said, I'd let them. At first. Then I'd take it all back. Publicly. That night, I went home and opened a new folder on my desktop. Project Reclaim. I wasn't going to just sit back and wait for a miracle. I was going to be the miracle. The first step. Rebuild trust, with Elliot. I emailed him from my personal account. Short. Polite. Careful. Just wanted to say thank you for trusting us with your business. I hope the transition has been smooth. If you ever need anything, I'm still here. He replied within 2 hours. I was surprised not to see you at the last few meetings. Everything okay? I hesitated. This could backfire. But I told the truth, lightly framed. I've been moved to another account. Happens sometimes in larger firms. Just wanted to make sure you're still getting the attention and expertise you need. His response was immediate. You built this deal. Frankly, it doesn't feel right without you. And just like that, the crack widened. Meanwhile, Jason and I grew closer. He started walking me home from the office, which wasn't exactly on his way. We didn't talk about work. We talked about music, favorite books, the way he used to sneak onto the roof of his college dorm to watch the stars. One night, after a long walk and 2 accidental detours, we stood outside my building, awkward in the best way. He rubbed the back of his neck. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I think about you. A lot. I smiled. Then say that. He did. And then we kissed, slow, warm, and sure. It was the only moment in those weeks that felt right. But under the surface, everything else was breaking. The final straw came when I found out they'd moved Elliot's contract under Mark. He wasn't just part of the project anymore, he was listed as lead contact. I laughed out loud when I saw the email. A dry, bitter laugh that felt like sandpaper in my throat. Jason came to my desk that afternoon. You ready? For what? For whatever you're about to do. I looked at him. And said, yes. I'm done playing their game. Every morning, I came in like nothing had changed. Smile. Small talk. A few polite nods in the hallway. I kept my desk tidy, my tone cheerful, and my browser tabs filled with decoy spreadsheets. But behind the scenes, I was building my exit. Brick by careful brick. I didn't want revenge just to feel better. I wanted justice, with interest. And I wanted it clean. Jason knew something was shifting. We weren't just sneaking kisses in the stairwell anymore. We were having quiet, whispered dinners at his place, him cooking, me venting. He'd listen with this deep, steady patience I hadn't felt from anyone in years. You don't owe them loyalty, he told me one night, setting down his wine glass. You gave them everything. They didn't even say thank you. I don't want to burn bridges, I said. Some bridges are already ash. You're just standing on the smoke. He wasn't wrong. So I started pulling documents. Everything I'd worked on with Vexter, notes, messages, proposals, diagrams. Not confidential data, but the parts that were mine. My process. My voice. My work. I backed it all up. Then I made a list. Who do I trust? Who do I avoid? What do I need to rebuild? And right at the top of that list, Elliot. I emailed him again. Would love to grab coffee if you're ever downtown. No business. Just catching up. He replied that same day. Next Thursday. Done. Elliot was already waiting at the cafe. Calm, collected, and far more casual than I expected. We talked for 20 minutes before business even came up. He asked how I was, what I was working on now. I gave polite, vague answers, enough to keep it professional, but personal enough to keep the connection alive. Then he said it. Something tells me you're not exactly thrilled with how things ended. I raised my eyebrows. That obvious? He smiled. Let's just say, you don't strike me as the type to hand off a relationship like ours midstream. I looked at him for a moment, weighing everything. Then I said, I'm building something. Small, for now. But real. When it's ready, I'll reach out. No pressure. He didn't hesitate. I'll be waiting. That was the moment everything changed. It wasn't just a maybe. It wasn't a hope. It was momentum. And I ran with it. Back at Horizon Tech, things kept decaying. Mark was floundering. He couldn't answer basic questions. He kept forwarding Elliot's emails to me with clueless comments like, Can you help me rephrase this? What does he mean by lead time? Should I CC Helen? I smiled. Answered politely. Helped him just enough to keep things from exploding. The longer I stayed, the more I realized, they weren't just ungrateful. They were incompetent without me. Jason and I grew closer in ways I didn't expect. One night, after a quiet dinner, I asked him, "What happens when I leave?" He didn't blink. "I'll help you pack." "You don't think it's reckless?" "I think staying would be." Then, after a pause, "Unless you're scared." "I'm terrified," I whispered. He reached over, took my hand. "Good. Means it matters." I gave my 2 weeks the next morning. Helen didn't even look surprised. Just muttered something about young people being impulsive. Mark tried to joke it off. "So, are you going to be a TikTok coach or something now?" I smiled and said nothing. The truth. I didn't owe them anything anymore. I spent those 2 weeks finishing projects, writing transition notes, and watching the panic ripple through the office. Jason kept his distance during work hours, but after hours he was my calm center. When my last day came, I didn't get a farewell lunch. No cake. No awkward card. Just a short, dry email from HR wishing me the best in future endeavors. That night, Jason met me outside the building. I didn't say anything. Just leaned into his chest and exhaled. "It's over," I said. "No," he replied. "It's starting." The next morning, I woke up without an alarm clock. No dress code. No endless status meetings. Just coffee. And possibility. I opened my laptop and renamed the folder. Orion Partners. I had a name. A pitch. A client ready to move. All I needed was time, and I had nothing but time. Starting a business sounds glamorous. Independence, purpose, freedom. Let me tell you the truth, the first month felt like standing on the edge of a cliff with no harness and nothing below but fog. I woke up every morning not to a to-do list, but to silence. No emails. No status updates. No corporate structure to hide behind. Just me, my laptop, and a folder called Orion Partners. But for the first time, the work felt like mine. I rented a tiny co-working space downtown, cheap, bare bones, just enough for a desk and a chair. The window didn't open. The Wi-Fi was moody. But it was mine. I made a list of what I needed. One clean logo, I sketched it on a napkin during lunch. A simple pitch deck. A contract template that didn't make clients' eyes bleed. Jason helped every step of the way. At night, we'd sit at his kitchen table, laptops open, fingers stained with takeout soy sauce. He wasn't just cheering me on, he was solving things. Layout issues, phrasing, contract language. He even taught himself basic branding design. "I thought you were in project management," I teased one night as he fiddled with font spacing. "I am," he grinned. "This is just the most important project I've had in years." I couldn't tell if my heart melted or exploded. Maybe both. And then came the first real test. Elliot. He called, not emailed. That already felt significant. "Still building?" he asked. "Brick by brick," I said. "Then let's put up a few more bricks. We're ready to move." Just like that, I had my first client. Not just a client, a real one. A serious, contract signing, invoice paying, growth enabling client. I didn't cry. But only because I was in the middle of a target when the call came in. I think I scared a toddler in aisle 6. The first week of working with Vexter as my own client was surreal. No middlemen. No micromanaging. No one swooping in at the last minute to sign the glory papers. Just clear goals, open communication, and actual respect. Elliot even said, "You always handled things better solo. This just makes sense." And as Orion grew, I started getting quiet messages from old coworkers. "I heard you left. I miss working with someone who actually listens. Do you need help? I'm open to freelance. Are you hiring?" Funny how people notice your value the moment you leave the room. Meanwhile, Horizon Tech started cracking. Elliot's departure from their client list had caused a ripple. Mark struggled. Helen panicked. Rumors flew. They tried to fill the gap by throwing discounts at new clients, but no one trusted them the way Elliot had trusted me. And I didn't need to do anything to make it worse, they were doing that all by themselves. Jason still worked there. It was a decision we made carefully. He wanted to leave. But for now, he stayed, not for them, but for us. "I want to see how far this breaks," he said one night. "I want to watch it collapse so we can build something better." I understood. He wasn't being vindictive. He was patient. Strategic. We had a plan. As my client base grew, first 1, then 2, then 4, I moved out of the co-working space. I found a tiny corner office above a bakery. It smelled like cinnamon in the mornings and yeast by late afternoon. I painted the walls myself, hung a cheap whiteboard, and brought in a plant I promptly forgot to water. It was perfect. Jason helped move the desk. He looked around, hands on hips, and said, "This is what freedom smells like. Bread and anxiety." I laughed. Exactly. We didn't talk much about Horizon Tech anymore. Not directly. But sometimes, over coffee or after a late-night strategy session, I'd catch a flicker of something in his eyes, satisfaction. Not at their failure. But at my growth. He never said, "I told you so." He didn't have to. Then, one afternoon, he forwarded me an email. Subject line: "Request for partnership review, urgent." It was from Horizon Tech's leadership team. They'd realized, too late, that they'd lost not just a client, but a relationship. And not just one. Word had spread. Orion was leaner, faster, better. They wanted to rebuild trust. I stared at the screen for a long moment. Then asked, "What do they want from you?" Jason shrugged. "They want to use me as a bridge to get to you. They want a meeting. Do I take it?" He looked at me, serious. "Only if it benefits you. Not for closure. Not for drama. Only if it gives you leverage." That's when I realized how far I'd come. I didn't need their approval. I didn't need their apology. I was no longer the girl trying to get a seat at the table. I was the table. I didn't rush into the meeting. I let Horizon Tech wait 3 full days before responding. Then I sent a short reply. "Happy to connect. Virtual only. I'll bring my associate." That associate. Jason. Not for intimidation, just so they'd know they couldn't corner me anymore. I wasn't alone this time. I had backup. And I had leverage. The call was set for Friday, 2 p.m. I wore black. Not for drama. For clarity. Black makes people lean in. Pay attention. Shut up and listen. Helen was already on the call when I joined. So was Mark. So was a third person, someone from legal, probably, judging by the stiff posture and empty eyes. I didn't offer pleasantries. Just a calm nod. "Let's begin." Helen did that fake casual voice she always used when she was losing control. We just wanted to explore the possibility of collaboration. Maybe even, reintegration. Reintegration. Like I was software. A feature they'd uninstalled by mistake. I tilted my head. And what would that entail? We'd bring you on as a consultant, she continued. Work closely with leadership. Higher visibility. Better compensation. Naturally, you'd stop working with Vexter. There it was. The truth buried in PR language. They didn't want me back. They wanted my client. My success. Jason didn't say a word. He just watched. I leaned forward, resting my chin on one hand. So just to clarify, I said slowly, you're offering to hire me, to dismantle the very business I built after you pushed me out? Helen blinked. Mark shifted in his chair. I smiled. No. A beat of silence. Then I added, in fact, if you ever contact my clients again, I'll interpret it as attempted interference with a standing contract. Which my legal team is more than prepared to address. Jason smiled, just a little. The third person on the call, the legal rep, finally spoke. Understood. And that was it. No shouting. No threats. Just a clean, quiet boundary. A final door swinging shut. I clicked leave meeting and exhaled. Jason turned to me and said, that might have been the hottest thing I've ever seen. We both burst out laughing. Later that week, I got a message from Elliot. Saw the VPs try to poach you back. Bold move. I replied with a winking emoji and nothing else. Because some victories don't need words. Some endings don't need revenge. Just clarity. Jason resigned 2 months later. Not because he had to. Because it was time. He joined Orion full-time as head of operations. I didn't offer him the job, he earned it. Together, we expanded. New clients. Real hires. A waiting list. We didn't advertise. We didn't post wins online. We didn't need to. Our clients spoke for us. Sometimes I'd pass the Horizon Tech building on my way to a meeting. It looked smaller now. Not physically, just less significant. Less powerful. It was once everything I thought I needed. Now. Just a past chapter. Not bitter. Just closed. 1 year after I left, I got a card in the mail. No name. No return address. Just a note in unfamiliar handwriting. You were always the fire. They just didn't know it until they got burned. I don't know who sent it. I didn't need to know. I tucked it into my drawer and went back to work. Some people think revenge is about getting even. But for me, it was never about punishing them. It was about freeing me. Letting go of the small version of myself I had to be to survive in their world. So I could build my own.